So I've just started going to different services to experience the diversity of the Anglican Church. So this is church 1. I've just finished going to, not that one, one around the corner. It's interesting because I'm going to weekday services because obviously I'm busy on Sundays. And it felt very, I don't know, prosaic? Is that the right word? Very just sort of, it's over in 25 minutes, you know, and a basic Eucharist with a 10-minute reflection thing on the fact that, you know, it's post-Easter, so she's talking about gardens, Garden of Eden, Garden at the end of Revelation, and then Mary and Jesus in the garden at Easter. Yeah, I was expecting to be higher actually. I've been there before and I expected to be slightly higher, but lots of bowing, which made me a little bit uncomfortable, but you know, I suppose that makes sense. It was just nice, there was a lot of the same words and stuff, so it wasn't particularly divergent much from what I'm used to. Church 2, very lovely church. Had a lovely conversation with the vicar about discernment. There's an ordinand who's helping out the church, and he was very lovely. I talked to him a little bit, and the ladies. I mean, it was very similar to Church 1. You know, weekday Eucharist, quite short, but I don't know. It was a nice, very nice church, and I don't know why, but it felt a bit more prayerful. Maybe I was in a better frame of mind. Church 3 was yesterday. I didn't get around to filming. It's quite a high church. It was an interesting experience because I went with a friend who I know through church, who's an ordinand, and I was struck by how much he knew what to do in a new place. There were some instructions in the service sheet, but he was doing some things that I sort of followed him rather than the service sheet. The bell at consecration completely startled me. Obviously I'm not expecting it, I don't know it, but also I startle easily. He did a little reflection on the readings and the news. He sort of went on the news, which is interesting for a weekday thing, but yeah, I think the same as last time, that was a nice, and made it a whole service really, I felt. Church 4. I very much enjoyed Church 4, mostly because it was just me. It was the priest, I think not the priest in charge, not the incumbent, but another member of the team, and I. And it was lovely, it was very intimate, and it was very, as usual. It was a usual sort of the Eucharist, but it was nice because he said beforehand, do you want to do the readings? So I did the readings. It was special saying, the Lord be with you, to one another, and it was just us. Then of course we had a lovely conversation afterwards, which was really lovely. But yeah, I'm struggling at the moment. One of the things I was talking about with him was I'm struggling at the moment to find weekday services that aren't just sort of basic high church Book of Common Prayer really. I'm going to HTB, so that'll be good and different. But yeah, I think I need to work on maybe finding some variety because I haven't got much variety so far.
I haven't been totally diligent with the first 4 churches. The next 7, not so diligent. So I'm going to just sum up my experiences from the other churches that I've been to. Church 5 was just a midday service on the outskirts of London. There weren't many of us, and it was very Catholic and very run-of-the-mill really. I don't remember anything particularly interesting. Church 6, I recorded something after Church 6. It was an evening service. It was evening prayer and an evening Eucharist. I'll link to that here. But it was a beautiful church. It was absolutely stunning, and the priest was very welcoming, and it was again very standard, very Catholic, and it was really nice doing evening prayer beforehand. Church 7 was one of a group of churches who are generally known to be quite conservative and maybe evangelical, but their lunchtime service was very sort of bog standard, you know, more not Catholic, sort of more casual, just a version of the common worship service that was very relaxed. Church 8 was very dark, as I recall. I mean, it was an evening service, but there wasn't a lot of light inside the church. And again, it was a very standard Catholic evening service in the chapel with very few people. There's a theme here. Church 9 was a lunchtime service, and the thing that I remember about that service was at the point at which people came to sit in the choir stalls, a man sat behind me, and I suddenly realised that he could see right down my top, and I very quietly and slowly did up my shirt that I had over it. I liked that priest. He was very friendly. I preferred that, really. Church 10 was an interesting one. It was in Cambridge, and I went to the lunch afterwards which was kind of awkward because there's lots of old people, and the priest was very interesting. He was obviously sort of an extrovert, but sort of he had a hard edge to him. I didn't know, I couldn't peg him. But it was BCP, literally given a Book of Common Prayer, tiny little one, in the chapel, and it felt almost clinical, I'd say. Like it was just something we had to get through, and he didn't, for an extrovert, wasn't impassioned during the actual service. And then Church 11, I've talked about on this blog, so you can read about it there. I made a bit of an impression because I was wearing my Pentecost outfit, and you can see a picture of that on the blog. So what have I learned from this experience of going to all these different churches? It shouldn't have been a surprise that the churches that had weekday services were mostly Catholic. I was interested to see myself respond to some Catholic services a lot better than I thought, and to some relaxed service a lot worse than I thought. So I liked relaxed services that had a solemnity, they had a passion, but a welcoming atmosphere.